or the treasurer of that organization as filed with the Board of Elections. So go look at the yard signs. Down at the bottom in small print, those flyers that came to your door last weekend were delivered by volunteers, parents, community members who think it's important to get the word out and to address these questions up front.
So, Mr. Pennicuff, I have a question again. You say the flyers that have been put out in the last few days have been from volunteers, community members, family members. And yet, I've been at polls where I've visited with employees who don't live in our district who are campaigning for the levy. So, are they making a mistake there, or is that allowed for employees we're paying to be campaigning for the levy, as we're seeing here in this election forum? Thanks, Mr. Pennicuff.
To your door last weekend were delivered by volunteers, parents, community members who think it's important to get the word out and to address these questions up front.
And not to confuse the voters, very, very soon they'll be receiving a quality profile. The quality profile talks about all of the great things that happen in the district. And there's a section in there that shows about the funding, how much money is used for each category, for salaries, for athletics, for administrators. And so I think that the public needs to understand that particular flyer is paid for by funds from the district. However, the funds for running the levy cannot be.
Okay, that's an important
Yes.
distinction.
Okay, so Dr. Smith, the employees are sending out flyers telling us about the district and all the great things going on in the district right before the levy, but they are not campaigning for the levy. That's what you're saying. Let me ask you this. Have there been meetings? Do Winton Woods City School District employees attend meetings? Do those meetings happen where the levy campaign is discussed, organized, encouraged? Thank you.
Funds from the district. However, the funds for running the levy cannot be.
Okay, that's an important
Yes.
distinction. Here's a question that's a very practical question. When people get their ballots, issues tend to be harder to find. Where will they find this when they go to the elections? Where will they find this issue on their ballot?
I'm so glad you brought up that question. Issues are hard to find, and there is a sequence to ballots. It starts off with the most senior races, in this case, the race for governor, state of Ohio, state representatives. Keep going. And sooner or later you get to the judges. And some people stop with the judges because judges aren't as well known as some of the other politicians.
Correct.
Don't stop with the judges. After the judges starts the issues, and issue number 5 will be the first issue there. And so hang in there. Don't turn in your ballot without looking for issue number 5, the Winton Woods substitute levy, because it's there.
So I have one question that takes us in a direction maybe we don't want to go, but I have to ask, what will happen if this levy doesn't pass? What will we see? Well, first of all, from your perspective, Mr. Smith, what happens in the district, in the school buildings? What will we see change?
Well, there will be changes, but the changes come they're interesting changes. I think everybody in the district has programming that they like, that they love, that they are just kind of enamored with, and people will say, Superintendent, don't touch this one, don't bother this one, keep this one alive. And one of the things that I think the taxpayers really have to understand, any cuts that may take place are not just cuts about adults. These are cuts that affect children. And so we're trying to be very, very proactive, very resilient, very committed to say that we want to make sure that We don't put our students in compromising situations about what gets cut, because I've seen districts where they've had to cut. They had to cut programs that were specialized for special children, special issues, special considerations, and those cuts go deep. And it's hard to retool yourself after that situation takes place.
So, Dr. Smith, I would have two questions about this topic. I can understand where if this levy fails, you lose the 10-year emergency levy that was bringing money into the district. But you're talking about cutting programs and talking about planning. You've known for 10 years that this levy was going to end. Have y'all considered that in your planning relative to all the programs? And then another question I think I would have for you is, the hostess just asked you what would happen if this levy does not pass. And it's a pretty simple, one of the aspects would be that our taxes actually go down in our district where we live, where Mr. Pennycuff and I live. So I'd ask you, why did you not mention that as one of the main situations that will happen if this levy does not pass? Thanks, Dr. Smith.
Go deep, and it's hard to retool yourself after that situation takes place. So right now, we're keeping the positive attitude that we won't even have to go through those measures because the taxpayers will be very, very supportive. And very, very soon, within the next week or so, there will be handwritten postcards from teachers, from administrators, from staff, bus drivers, food service, all of our employees, and it's going to be a postcard so that they can remember. It's a high five for postcard, so it's very symbolic. High five for five, for issue 5.
For issue 5.
Yes,
okay.
ma'am. Thank you.
Well, then
So I have a similar question here, Dr. Smith. You said our employees are bus drivers, teachers, everything, who are writing a postcard. It's high five for 5. That they are putting out postcards, handwritten notes to support the levy campaign to have it pass. So is that an example, again, of the employees campaigning for the levy? Thanks for answering that question, Dr. Smith.
Because the taxpayers will be very, very supportive. And very, very soon, within the next week or so, there will be handwritten postcards from teachers, from administrators, from staff, bus drivers, food service, all of our employees, and it's going to be a postcard so that they can remember. It's a high five for postcard, so it's very symbolic. High five for 5, for issue 5.
for issue 5.
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.